Aloha, everybody. Welcome to the Buttery Show. I am Justin Cabancing, and I'm joined by my co-host.
Jen Cena. Woo!
All right, and here today we're gonna be talking about Stitch the movie.
Yes. Ooh, I'm so excited.
How? So yes, oh my gosh. Just several weeks ago, almost a month, we've had to reschedule this segment to cover or continue our Lilo and Stitch uh
Series.
coverage yes, exactly, our Lilo and Stitch series, if you will. um and our next feature on the list is Stitch the movie,
Yep.
which happens to be the sequel to the 42nd Walt Disney animated feature film that we all came to know and love and grow up with. And yeah, Jen, actually, why don't you share with our viewers, where did you find your wonderful merch that you're carrying there? What are
Oh,
those?
okay. I'm showing it off right now. You guys can find this at Five Below. These are $5.95 each. Good steal. Beautiful, and they also have different variations of Stitch. There's one him, naked. There's one him with the battle suit. There's one him I think wearing a Elvis Presley. One him wearing a
Yeah, the Elvis Presley one I've
That was
seen
my
for
favorite,
sure.
but the one I got was the pineapple. Of course, I got Lilo. So if you get the chance, run to Five Below. They got a bunch of Lilo and Stitch merch. I am so excited and so happy because honestly, I love Lilo and Stitch. And it's at a discounted price. I love Five Below. I'm so happy Five Below started generating more cool stuff, cool merch. Not only just squishmallows like these, but like they also have like I believe they had. I remember before. I think they had like amiibos of Lilo and Stitch, and also like small things either.
Or like and also the Tsum Tsum collection also.
Yeah,
Like they
they
had the
did.
little Tsum
So
Tsums. Yeah.
yeah, so I'm happy. If you are on a budget, go get yourself. Go to Five Below near you.
Go treat yourself. Go get some Lilo and Stitch merch.
Yep, I will honestly say that Five Below is now my favorite store to be at because it's like
Oh
it's a
yeah.
discounted it's a discounted store, but it has like the coolest items for a cheap price.
Yeah, by far. Like Five Belows started coming up. I remember hearing this from a friend of ours that Five Below started as an East Coast brand and they started moving to the West or across the country,
Mhm.
and we started seeing them pop up on the West Coast, including Hobby Lobby too. Unless Hobby Lobby's been around and I just haven't seen a lot of them.
Oh no, there is Hobby Lobby, but they're only like they're very big, like they're very big stores, and they only like sell them.
Okay, kind of like a Walmart kind of,
Mhm,
but
mhm,
again, like you said, less of them.
mhm,
Okay, sweet. Oh my gosh. Okay, awesome. But so that way we get back to covering our feature for today. We
mhm.
are covering Stitch the movie, not the series, but the movie, which takes place before Stitch the series, which was aired on Disney Channel and also Toon Disney or Disney XD, or shortly before the Disney XD branding had taken over the Toon Disney brand.
Oh,
And
I remember that.
right, it seems so long ago for a lot of the people who grew up with the series when it had its run on the air. And Stitch the movie actually came out uh, on August 26th, 2003, as a direct to DVD sequel to the 42nd annual Disney animated feature film Lilo and Stitch. Exactly. And so, again, a lot of our favorite characters, actually, all of them, actually, uh, the Pelikai sisters, Lilo and Nani, Stitch, of course, Jumba, Pleakley, Cobra Bubbles, Jumba
And
Jukiba.
and a new
Yeah.
character, the hamster gerbil. You know what's funny? I can never pronounce his name.
Yeah.
I literally just call him a gerbil.
Yeah, I mean,
You want to
and
pronounce it?
again, he hates being called a gerbil too. I remember that was one of the punchlines of
Mhm.
his character, Jacques von Hamsterville. Uh, very long, but usually people just call him Hamsterville, or sometimes even get it wrong, say hamster wheel, or they call him a gerbil, and he finds that very very annoying and very disrespectful. Yeah, but he's a nasty little critter, of course. That's been genetically enhanced or modified to be able to talk, and so Stitch the movie covers what happens post Lilo and Stitch, and sees what takes place afterwards. And so, uh, uh, I want to start off by going over how did we both, between the two of us, Jen, how did we come to discover the series? I'll
Okay,
let
I'll
you
start
start
first
first.
because for me, this is gonna sound silly. I know that Stitch the movie was the pilot for the series, right? Because you know how all of
Right,
us grew up watching Lilo and Stitch the series, and I really like it when and I really like it when movies set you up for like shows and whatnot. I
right.
really like that. It's like still related, and that's something I kind of miss about Disney, where they would make movies and then it'd be like related to show, kind of like similar to like Hercules, I believe.
Right. They did that. They made a Hercules series, but that one
It was
ended up being
related,
like a prequel series. But there
yeah.
was some uh clashes with canon, but we won't get into
I
that.
know,
But
but you know what I
yes,
mean? I kind of miss those types of series, where it sets you up
yeah,
for the show. But this is gonna sound silly, but I watched Stitch the movie no, after the cartoon series came out. Like,
yes,
because
same.
like I think how old it wasn't so long ago, but it's just that like I think it was on theaters and I didn't watch because it was on 2003. I remember, but
Yeah,
like
we were like around like seven, like 8 or 9 or 10, around that age, probably,
yeah,
or even
and this
seven to 10 range or something.
Yeah, and I remember I was still in the Philippines, but I was watching the Disney shows, and then how I
Right.
came across the movie was okay, no, the feds is not gonna come after me, but
Oh
like
yeah, no, no, no,
legally,
no. Yeah,
around
you're in the
2005,
care of the Buttery Show.
2006, I bought a pirated. You know those things back then in 2005 and 6 where people would
Oh,
literally film movie theaters.
like the burned copies,
Yeah,
like kind
back
of
then
like
those were
what
popular, right? So then I bought
insert
like burned.
Zootopia joke here. Yeah.
I back then I used to burn. We used to buy those burn copies in downtown LA, Santee Alley. That used to be the place.
Yes,
I'm serious.
a lot of swap meets used to happen down there.
Yeah, and so that's how I watched Stitch the movie. I watched Silly. I'm sorry, Disney. But did you watch it
I'm
like
sure the
with
mouse
your?
can forgive you.
Yeah, I know. But like that's how I watched it. I watched it through a burned DVD.
Okay.
But I did watch the cartoon series though. That one was on TV. That was on TV
Yes.
channel. That one you
Yeah.
cannot pirate. But back then it was real. Back then a lot of people would pirate the DVD movies. Which, by the way, now that I look at it, when I was watching Stitch the movie, right, on
Right.
DVD, the pirated version, it was funny because like it looks fine, the quality, but then like there are some scenes where like you can tell that they were filming in a movie theater because this guy was standing up and like walking outside. Like you can see that.
Oh no.
So it was like, you know what I mean? Like it was one of those
They
DVDs where
ruined
I bought it.
it.
You know what I mean? Like those DVDs where like people record on movie theaters before you burn them, kind of thing.
Yeah,
That was like back
like it's
then.
a
Like that was
cam
back.
rip.
Yeah, so back in 2005 or 2006, that was how people watched like that's how people watched pirated DVDs. They would literally just buy it from people who literally filmed in movie theaters.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that is
You
beyond
remember that?
funny. But oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
But tell me
um
about you. Tell me how you watched Stitch the movie.
so I grew up in this I grew up in the States. I was born in the States, and so I had first seen Stitch the series first.
Like me.
Lilo and Stitch the series. Sorry, not to be
Mhm.
confused with Stitch the anime, because there's an anime called Stitch the series in which uh, Chris Sanders and DeBlois they had practically virtually no hand in developing that animated series. But Lilo and Stitch the series was my first encounter with the whole beginning of the Stitch the series, because believe it or not, this was when Blockbuster was still around. So,
Wow.
however, Blockbuster was closing, and so they were getting rid of all their discs, and so I
Oh,
had a whole treasure trove. I on the family section of all these DVDs. There's like Barbie movies. There's some.
aw.
There's Atlantis, the Lost Empire. There's Treasure Planet, and Lilo and Stitch is like right there, along with Stitch the movie, Leroy and Stitch, Lilo
Aw.
and Stitch 2, Stitch has a glitch. So I was like, oh my gosh, where in the world can you find official copies like this? So I grabbed them by the armful and I just brought them to the front counter and I bought them all. And so it was an instant steal.
Oh, that's
And
good. At
remember,
least you did it legally compared to what I did.
oh God, I mean, you got to get your fix somehow, right, Jen?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yes, so I had seen Stitch the movie whenever it would air on Disney Channel or on Toon Disney when it did, but it was never from start to finish with that whole 64-minute runtime. I would either jump in during
Oh.
when the the pods the experiment pods were falling
Mhm.
out of Jumba's ship or Jumba and Hamsterville's vessel and all. So I never got to see it from start to finish. So when I
Oh.
finally got the copy from Blockbuster, that was when I finally got to sit down and appreciate it and enjoy it and see how did everyone get from point A to point Z and get into the series. So that was my experience with
Mm-hmm. That's good. I'm very happy because I mean, like,
it.
you got better quality than I did when I watched Switch the movie. I mean, like,
Yeah.
now that I look back at it, I'm like, those pirate, like, they weren't bad. Like, personally, I can tell they had a hands. They had like a stand when they were
Oh,
filming
okay.
the movie
Wow.
theater. But it was just kind of annoying because there were some scenes where, like, you can see like the people walking out. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like of the movie theater, you can tell. Now that I look at it, I kind of wish I kind of watched it like not pirated, where someone filmed in a movie theater
Hmm.
because it just kind of like ruined it when like I think there's this one scene, it was really annoying, but like how like people are coming in late to the movie theater, you can see them all
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Getting a whole lot of
memories.
good memories with that.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, briefly going over the the story of the film. This film takes place after the original film,
Mm-hmm.
where Stitch, Jumba, and Pleakley, they've all gotten situated and taken residence at the Pelekai house after it had been blown up at the end of Lilo and Stitch after Gantu had come in and basically blown
Kidnap.
up the house.
Well, he
Or
tried to kidnap
after,
Six to Stitch first, and then things happen, and yeah.
right, Jumba and Pleakley were trying to acquire Stitch, and then one thing led to another. That fight broke out into an explosion, and
I
then,
will say I love that. Don't
yeah,
you love that scene? I wish I
yeah,
could replay it, but that was my favorite scene in the movie. Like in the beginning, you see like this,
yeah.
like all the things are just coming in, right?
Oh
And you're
yeah, it's just absolute mayhem. I'm sure the storyboarders had such a wonderful time animating that, and also, again, I mentioned this during our Lilo and Stitch episode, where this is actually the first film in literally, or Lilo and Stitch was the first film since Snow White and Dumbo since they had utilized watercolor backgrounds. And it's
mm,
really nice that Stitch the movie continues using this theming and this feel of the first film, and they carry it to not only this sequel, but they also put it into the series as well,
oh no,
which
yeah, I get you.
we will cover perhaps in another episode. We'll see what how you folks decide whether or not you'd like for us to cover the series. But the movie actually starts off. I love them. They're so cute.
Yeah, I just have to. I don't have the thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah, got to keep up the cuteness appeal. But yes, so actually, the movie starts off with Captain Gantu. He's in his ship. It's in one piece, and he docks at this other stronghold. It's not like a well fortified one
Mhm.
like the big alien spaceship that we saw that the Grand Councilwoman pilots with her entire crew, like with her flagship. But it's a smaller one, and we see this hamster-sized organism in which we already get vibes are he's the villain of this film, and he's none other than Dr. Jacques von Hamsterville, who is the yeah, 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 he's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." He's the longtime rival of Dr. Jumba Jukiba. So we already see that rivalry. We see that he has this irritable uh, uh, jealousy and this
Mhm.
irritableness towards Jumba, and that's why he picked up Gantu since Gantu was relieved of duty from the Galactic Alliance, and so Gantu's just trying to find some employment elsewhere, even though it's not exactly legal or uh, good.
Mhm.
So, um, yeah, Hamsterville uh, tries to has this mission to abduct Jumba, and Gantu happens to know where Jumbo was last sighted from his last encounter, which was
Mhm.
in the first film, on Earth on the island of Kauai. And so, yeah, we see everyone in the Pelikai Ohana just kind of acclimating to everything. And we see that Jumba and Pleakley are enjoying themselves, but Stitch doesn't still necessarily feel that he fits in with everything. Um, Jen, I noticed this in the beginning. A
Mhm.
lot of the times, Jumba and Pleakley they wear very unusual
Hawaii.
choices of fashion. Like we
You know
see,
what's weird is like
yeah,
you know how Pleakley. I don't know if Pleakley's ever a boy or a girl. He or she looks very very androgynous, right? But Pleakley always
right,
dresses like a girl.
uh huh. He's very they're very androgynous. I think that was part of it. Was not only a joke, but I think that was really the onset of that type of representation, and it took flight in the early 2000s. How about that?
Well, like for me, when I was a kid, well, how I saw Pleakley, I thought she was the annoying aunt, but some
Right.
people can find him more like the gay,
The gay
transgender.
uncle, right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like a lot of Filipinos. A lot of this has been a joke with a lot of Filipino stand-ups. A lot artitos, which is the
Mm-hmm.
Filipino
Uncle.
word for uncle, right?
Uh,
And sometimes they would be like Tito boy, and it would usually be a signal that possibly they were homosexual or gay, and
uh,
it'd be fun.
I
It's
don't know.
something.
Maybe they are a homosexual couple.
Maybe,
Nani
but I
kind of
think at the
girl.
very least they're just friends. But I
Yeah.
guess Pleakley's just more in touch with their feminine side, if
Okay.
anything. So yeah, they're. How about this? Very gender fluid. How about that?
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Yes, we love our non-binary pal Pleakley. Uh, thank you, Nadine. We love your comments. We wish you were here, but
I know, hi,
we
Nancy.
understand.
Oh yeah,
We
we
miss
read your
you.
comments.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But yes. So it's so interesting that Pleakley just naturally adopted that type of style, and then you have Jumba. He doesn't really care, but he has to be decent and wear something rather than just a satchel and a belt with, and also because in Hawaii, gun laws. Open carry and concealed carry is not a thing on the state of Hawaii, so he has to put his blaster elsewhere, and he has to
So
wear
they're like the
something more decent.
stereotypical uncle and auntie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Which is perfect. It helps really complete that ohana. Uh, and so, and in addition, we see more of David Kavena and also Nani Pelekai, who. But actually, David is not voiced by the same voice actor.
Hmm.
David is actually voiced by D. Bradley Baker, one of the most legendary voice actors of all time, who's uh, been featured on Star Wars: The Clone Wars. He's been featured in Phineas and Ferb. He's superly talented and is part of this absolutely star-studded cast. Unfortunately, yeah, David is not voiced by his original voice actor. Uh,
It's okay.
uh,
I love David Coena. I think we all do.
mhm.
He's one of those extended adopted family members that I really like.
Right, exactly, and he could easily fit into that role as being kind of like the older brother for Lilo, and
Oh.
Nani really likes him.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's not voiced by Jason Scott Lee, but he holds a very special place in the whole Disney family, if not only the Lilo and Stitch Pelikai Ohana as well.
Okay.
But yeah, um, tell me, Jen, uh, even though we have our wonderful cast, uh,
Mhm.
they're not exactly the entire focal point of this film, let alone
Mhm.
the series. We have our wonderful experiments, and we get introduced to the first of them, Sparky, Experiment
Yes.
221.
Mhm.
And yeah, Stitch is just trying to find something he can really relate to rather than just have uh, the Kamaina of the Hawaiian Islands to go off of. He really wants to feel like he belongs with another fellow cousin, if you will, to really feel like he belongs. And so when Lilo and Stitch discover one of Jumba's the pod carrying terminal, which
I
has
call them
all
dehydrated pods.
yeah, right, and yeah,
Marbles.
yeah, they look like marbles, but I guess they called them pods, and they wanted to,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, scientifically call it something, so they
Mm-hmm.
called them the pods, and when they get them wet, it activates them. But yeah, we get introduced to Sparky, Lilo, and Stitch. Uh, Fill up a entire tub of water, and they put the pod in there, and Sparky comes out, and she gives him the nickname Sparky, and he has this ability to charge things and control and be basically an electric conduit. um, Jen, my question for you is, what what was your initial impressions with this whole idea that there are 625 other aliens in this one case? And also, having seen Sparky for the first time, do you recall your
Well,
first
for me, I
initial
thought
impressions?
Sparky was the coolest. Cause I
Yeah,
mean, like, come on, if you think about it, he was like he had like this electricity. On top of that, in my opinion, he was like the cutest looking. Okay, like, cause you know how,
it's the eyes, man.
yeah, not only that, I mean, like,
Yeah,
there was kind of like, cause you know how it happens, right? Like, what happened
right.
to the pods or marbles is that they get spread out. So then that,
Hmm.
like, all over like Hawaii. So it lays up to like the series, right? So because
Right.
all of the they couldn't capture all the pods, and so
Hmm.
during that time, it's just kind of like a what you call it? Like if it hatches, then they catch it. That's how the ending goes, right? Because all these
Right.
pods are scattered. I
Hmm.
will say there's one good thing that came out of this. Well, at least for Gantu, and one of them was what's that game, Bernie or something? The talking,
Oh, the sandwich making one, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
Bernie. Forgot his name.
Experiment 625. He actually doesn't get a name until Leroy and Stitch, but his name is Ruben, like the
Oh,
sandwich.
there you go, Ruben.
Yeah,
Oh,
cuz he likes making sandwiches. Yeah. Um uh so yeah, Ruben's a fun character too.
yeah. So I thought that was cute because like the good part is I think Ruben was there, but Sparky of course is the second experiment to come out,
Right.
and I think it
Mhm.
leads to like a catalyst. What I really like about Sparky was that like it was a lot easier I think for Grand Council
Woman. Yeah,
woman
Grand Councilwoman, yeah.
to like accept Lilo's brothers and sisters. I guess you can say the pods are the brothers and sisters in
Or
there.
yeah, like Stitch calls them cousins, but really they are like brothers and sisters. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
And I like it because it kind of like leads to like I guess a what you would call it, a plot where like both Lilo and Stitch and Gantu and the whole they're all just trying to catch an abomination.
Yeah, that's the running joke because Gantu always calls them abominations because
Yeah.
they're finicky and they're so fast compared to him, who's this big shark alien who's trying to catch him.
Yeah. So my takeaway here is, how the first movie it's basically monsters are friends kind of thing, the power of
Yeah.
friends. I think this one is more like um the power of friends again, but like in how do I put this? Basically, you're not alone.
Yeah.
You
And
know what I mean? Like how there's like one message and there's a second message for this one.
yeah.
First one was like, monsters are not bad people. I know. Don't get me wrong. That's not like the official like word of
Oh
this
yeah, yeah. No, 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 no.
the
But like
takeaway.
it's like the underlying message that
Yeah.
the film is trying to convey,
So for
right?
me, this sequel to this movie
Hmm.
is what you call it, like I guess is like family, power of family again. What would you say
Right.
is your second takeaway for this movie? I don't know how to say it. I don't know what to say.
Well, Stitch the movie. Uh,
What would you say is your takeaway? That's what I mean. Like, what made it different from the first one?
what made it different was not only the animation style,
Mm-hmm.
considering that it doesn't have as big of a budget, having been developed by Walt Disney TV Animation, and also the animation was done by Rough Draft Korea, in
Wow.
which they had to source the animation with from an outside studio from Walt Disney Studios, since it was developed for television,
Mm-hmm.
but more so on how when you have the structure and format of a show when it's created for broadcasted television, uh, the story has the story wants to create opportunities to tell more.
Mm-hmm.
So, like a lot of days that we see with film and television nowadays, there's a film, an initial film, and it spreads out, and you have all these sequels and
Mm-hmm.
Disney Plus series, like with what's kind of being done now with Marvel and Star Wars right here.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think. This is one of the first in as far as the early 2000s, in which this was uh accomplished well. And my take from this is that it did such a good job in really cementing the success of this type of storytelling, in establishing the groundwork of not only what is to come for the franchise in the future, but also creating a structured uh, story outline. Because what essentially Stitch the movie does, it it shows the audiences uh, the story from start to finish and structures it in a way that transitions smoothly into the
Uh-huh.
series and really maps it out. Because you
I
have
like
Lilo
it,
and
but I'm
Stitch.
saying is like, what's the what you call it, the life lesson takeaway? That's what
Oh,
I
so
meant.
the
I,
life
I, I know
lesson.
I know you're talking about structure, which I agree. I agree with everything you say. I'm talking about what makes this life lesson different from the first one. Because they both have similar meanings, like similar takeaway. But what made this one different? If that
Right.
makes
Right. With what makes this film different in terms of message
yeah.
is, like you said, you were referencing finding that role of belonging. It's more of finding purpose, because
Oh, I like
Stitch
that.
doesn't.
I like that. I like that way of thinking.
Yeah, because Stitch, even though he has a family, he found his place. He
Mm-hmm.
wants to have a purpose now, because obviously he doesn't know where to go. Obviously, because he's turned a new leaf, he doesn't want to destroy things, which was his initial programming. But yeah, he wants to expand beyond that, and he wants to be able to have a purpose on what he can do, and that can be seen with all his cousins, in which they later have to find a purpose for. They find a purpose for Sparky in this one, who lights up the lighthouse on one of the coasts of Kauai, and it is a precursor for what they will have to do for the rest of the cousins in the series to come.
Okay, I like your takeaway in terms of like life lesson.
Yeah, finding purpose.
There you go. That's a good way for me. It was more like, um, monsters are not bad.
Oh
For
yeah,
me,
no, no,
my
no.
takeaway was
It's an interesting
family,
one.
the importance of family extended, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's very important because actually that they do expand that in the subsequent sequels also. So do remember that if we ever get to cover that, and of
Hmm.
course our viewers who will be watching this episode, yeah, they'll think like, oh, Jen caught that early on, or
Yeah,
yeah, because we definitely see that.
I
Um,
I have a question for you. What's your favorite scene in the movie?
for this one, I have
Yeah.
to say that my favorite scene was when they have actually it's when they have it's very brief, but it's when uh they're Nani and David are actually about to go on a date, or they're gonna hang
Oh,
out,
that one was so cute.
but Pleakley, he's left to babysit Lilo and Stitch, and Jumba's doing whatever experimentation he's doing that he's not supposed to. But what Pleakley's doing, uh he acts like he's totally got this under lock and key and he's got it. But Nani questions him and asks, "You're taking good care of the kids by cooking dog food." And then he jokes saying, yeah, it makes its own gravy. I was like, "Oh my god, that's so funny."
Oh, okay.
So it's part of that
Oh,
humor they really eased in with the series, which is a lot of the charm from the first one that they were able to put into the sequel that really stands out. What about yours, Jen?
okay, so my favorite scene
Yeah.
was when you remember when Lilo, Stitch, and Jumba and Pleakley were captured in the tiny ass spaceship, the Dr. Van Hamstel thing.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Which, by the way, I'm not gonna lie, it was my favorite. There was this scene where like I think a Dr. Van Hamstel. You know, I'm
Or
gonna call it a hamster.
yeah, just call it the hamster guy. The
Yeah,
hamster guy.
because honestly, he has such a thick thick German accent. What I want to know is
Or yeah.
how did they came up with a German villain? Like, like all of them. You know how they all have kind of like accents, right? Like
Yeah.
American accents. But literally, of all things, they chose a German villain.
I think they wanted that superior that superiority complex, and so they figured,
Hey,
why
the
not
most
have that?
raspiest. Why not? Germans have like the most raspiest accent. But there was this scene where like I
Yeah.
think like Lilo and like Hamster are like getting like to like a bird argument and this and that, saying, you need to be this, or I forgot what it was. I think it was like Dr. Hamster was talking about like he wants to take over the world. And then they
Right.
eventually get out, right? They eventually escape the pod. But I thought that scene was just so funny. How like Lilo's so ruthless compared to Dr. Van Hamstel.
Oh, she is absolutely fierce, and she's not holding back any punches.
Yeah. So that was my favorite scene. That was like I'm thinking the towards the end.
Yeah. That's so funny that you bring that up because even even throughout the movie, they really established that he's compensating for something. Of course, he's literally 36th the size of Gantu here, and he's barking orders, and Gantu's like, I guess I have to follow this guy's orders, or because again, this goes with the whole theming of purpose. He has no, he won't Gantu won't have any purpose unless he does this, and he's always butt heads with 626 from their last encounter. So it works out in the end, and it creates for a good conflict and comedy.
Hmm. But yeah, that's just me. You know what was cool was like they're kind of like I would have thought that because well, you know how they don't have a ship, right? Like I think their ship is broken. Gantu and like the villain ship is broken. So I think it's kind of funny how like all of them
Mhm.
are basically stranded on Earth.
Yeah, after everything in this film transpires, that's why we see it in the series. It's just kind of getting really homegrown, and there's all this foliage and all these vines just growing on it.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, it's really funny because it creates a reason for Gantu to not always take a ship and blast the island whenever he's trying to get 66. But yeah, no, it creates a good foundation for the situation that for Gantu and 625 Ruben, for how they have to approach the conflicts to come in the series. Yeah, this movie does a lot of that. I noticed that it does a lot of setting up for the series, but it's able to stand on its own. Uh, which actually leads me into my next topic. What do you think really helps this movie um, stand out from other series like Goof Troop,
Mm.
Tailspin, or even more recent series like Big Hero 6, the series, or even Tangled, the series? Because you even mentioned that you really like series that take place after or somehow coincide with their initial feature
Yeah,
film.
yeah,
Um,
like it sets up the story. So for me, I think the reason why I like it is like
yeah.
this is gonna sound really, really stupid and very silly, but
No, please.
I love Pokemon so much. I think that's the reason
Okay.
why I love it because I love Pokemon so much as a kid.
Hmm.
So like in a sense, you know how like the catchphrase "gotta catch them all." They gotta catch up. They gotta
Yeah,
catch all their cousins.
they got to
Maybe
catch them all here
maybe
too.
that's
That's
why.
right.
Maybe that's why I've always liked Stitch was because you know what, like doesn't it remind you of Pokemon, or is that just me?
Oh, no, 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 absolutely, because they have to catch them all. They got to complete the Pokedex. But in this case, they have all the information of the experiments, but they're only just missing them themselves. So they have to catch them and also find a home where they can use their abilities and find their place.
Yeah, in a
So
sense,
yeah,
but yeah,
I agree.
instead of like the monsters fighting each other, they are useful in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I liked it. Maybe because it reminded me of Pokemon. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, no, it's very much like Pokemon. And even during the series, not straying too far from the movie itself, but from the structure of the storytelling from the film itself, we see Lilo and Stitch progressively searching throughout the island. Like they go to the different resorts. They see Meryl and her posse in their little tricycle things trying to find Sparky at first because they don't know where exactly how to find him. They don't have this find the experiment formula under lock and key yet. So they're kind of just getting a feel for the island based on what they know, but they realize what does Sparky like most and how can they use the process of elimination to find him. And so obviously they remember that Sparky loves electricity. So they use that as a hint to kind of root out where can they find him. And so there comes that factor of not only just being able to find them, but trying to help determine what would be a good place for them to find their home, because it becomes a it becomes a situation where Lilo or the Pelikai Ohana can't just decide where, or they can just stay at the house because that would be problematic. But yeah, um
So maybe
that's
that's
my
what that was what made it different for me because it
yeah.
reminded me of Pokemon. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was like maybe that's why I liked it so much. Maybe because the idea of collections and like
Yeah.
I will say this in my opinion. Disney, if you could bring back those Stitch games, like the sandwich game, not just the sandwich game,
Yeah.
or like you remember how like you click. You remember when back in the early days of online internet, you click on
The
those
flash games
yeah,
on the
and then
website,
it shows you information about which
like
well, the
character or
experiment.
even
Yeah, that was like
experiment.
yeah, I really missed those. Maybe that's why I really like it. It just gravitated to me. Like the I will say this, the
Yeah,
PR. Would you say the PR did a really good job on this?
I think so. They mostly only could to save cost, they only promoted it on their network because it was more efficient to do it that way. But yeah, with this film, I mean, it was a direct to DVD sequel. It didn't have the PR and marketing budget as the first film, but they marketed it through their other DVDs, like the other releases, like Princess Diaries. I remember
No,
watching
I
the heck out
remember
of that
that.
one, and a lot of people will probably have a nostalgia hit from this. But when you hear that voice, coming soon to own on Disney DVD. And they would see all these trailers for what they can expect to be on Disney DVD or coming to theaters. And so Stitch, the movie, what happened to be one of those. And so, yeah, our little buddy got his first movie, not really a standalone, but he got a continuation and the
No,
franchise got to grow.
yeah, like I would say for me,
Hmm.
like it wasn't like the you know how back then the reigning era was. I think who was it? It was like the cartoon Disney show. It was like it was Lilo, and then it was like another
Lilo
one.
and Stitch, Kim Possible. I remember they even have a crossover for that.
Yeah, you remember those? I remember those. Those were so cool.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I always liked it. Not just because of the cartoon series, but or like the show or whatever, the movie. But I think it's
Hmm.
because like it was a healthy competition, I guess you can say. I miss it
Yeah.
when they did. You remember how like back then it was like Disney versus like Nickelodeon? Because you remember how they had lots of crossovers, and then Nickelodeon came out with Jimmy versus Neutron, and
Oh
then
yeah, the Jimmy Timmy Power
well, then
Hour,
I think
right?
so. Then because of that, then they started coming out with crossovers. I miss those. Like you
Yeah.
asked me, I think that's the reason why Disney brought out a lot of crossover episodes was because Nickelodeon did such a good job with the Jimmy and Neutron and the Timmy Turner
The
one.
the Fairly Odd Parents.
Yeah.
Though I think this came out first. Yeah. The first Jimmy Timmy Power Hour was in 2004.
Oh.
This film came out in 2003, and so the series started it around more or less the same time. But yeah, I guess they were in production, and but I completely see what you're saying. I guess they caught wind of the whole crossover thing, and I guess they timed it right to
Bring it back.
to do it both. Yeah, exactly. They got to be able to promote both, so it's kind of like the clashing of the networks, like you said.
Yeah, I don't know. Like for me, it was kind of weird because I don't know. Were you that kid that grew up um were you that kid that grew up on
Hmm.
both Nickelodeon and Disney? Because you remember how
Oh
back then
yeah, and
Cartoon
Cartoon
Channel was like,
Network for
yeah,
sure.
but I think the reigning era was Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon was like top one, right? And then I remember Disney would like do crossover and whatnot. Oh god, those are memories, man.
Yeah, for sure. And I remember even Cartoon Network tried to do something more or less similar, but a lot of
Yeah,
their transitions from shows to show
yeah.
involved seeing a lot of their IPs, like Codename Kids Next Door, and then like the Grim
Mhm.
Adventures of Billy and Mandy, just kind of interacting with each other. So it was funny to see that, but it was on much smaller scale with Cartoon Network. I'm sure they've had crossover opportunities with other shows of theirs as well, but uh, Stitch the movie was the first step in really engaging that type of area. But we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up with some final thoughts on the film because uh, we want to go ahead and make sure that we
Mhm.
dot our I's and cross our T's. What lasting impressions or thoughts do you have on the film, Jen?
Um, Overall good. I will say this. I think the reason why this movie was so good. It's like, of course, it's a sequel to the first one, but like, and it also
Hmm.
sets up the series. But what I
Right?
really like in this character, you know who my favorite one was?
Who was it?
Dr. Van Hamstel. Hamstel.
Yeah,
It's just,
you
it's
like
just
this hamster guy as much as you give him crap and have a hard time pronouncing
no,
his name.
I
You
know
like
you
him.
want to know something because Gantu is just like this. Gantu is just like this guy that's just like
He's the
abomination.
muscle.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then Hamster is like the annoying ass villain. You know what I mean? Like the
yeah,
it's kind of stereotypical in every villain. You know how in every story there's that villain that's like there's one that's like the muscle hard headed dude, and then there's like the one that keeps talking.
Yeah, he's the main villain who monologues
Yeah, there you
a
go. That's
lot.
the word.
Yeah.
But that's my takeaway. My favorite one is the villain Hamsh show. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, there
Dr.
they made it.
Hamsterville.
Yeah, maybe there was a reason behind the German accent. Who knows?
Okay, yeah.
What about you?
Hamsterville definitely is a pretty. He definitely knows how to leave a lasting impression. But I have to say, in this series, or sorry, this movie, I've been having I've been pretty good in juggling between the series and the movie, but I just slipped up. But I have to say that Sparky definitely is the main attraction and the most lasting impression for me on this film. Just seeing not only is he a new member of the cast, but also he is a prelude of what's to come with the series to follow. And so, other than what I've already said, he's a very cute, cuddly, very mischievous type of experiment, and it's very awesome to see how he's the start of many of Stitch's cousins that in which Lilo and Stitch have to rehabilitate and release to be able to find their place on the island. But yeah, folks, thank you for watching our episode of Stitch the movie. Jen, where can our viewers find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram at Jen Messina. That's GNMESINA. You can find me on TikTok on G Messy2. GMESI2. Justin commenting, where can they find you?
Yes, so everyone can find me on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, at JCabantingVA for anything regarding my adventures in voice acting, stunts, and also doing on camera work for your entertainment. But
Mhm.
yes, everyone, thank you for watching the Buttery Show. We really appreciate you coming and seeing our coverage of Stitch the movie. Thank you so much. Aloha again. Sending much good mana your way. Stay safe out there, and we
Love
wish you
you.
all the aloha and more. Mahalo and love you guys. Take care.
Take care. Bye bye.
See ya. Aloha.